Introduction. 4 Pairs of Skis. This is a book about how you can make good money decisions. I am not talking about which investment to buy or how much to invest in the stock market. I am talking about decisions that are in tune with reality, with your goals, and with your values. Why would anyone not make decisions that way? Well, we get confused, we get scared, we get carried away. That's why this is also a book about how to avoid confusion, how to cope with fear, and how to stay grounded when making financial choices. That sounds hard, and as we'll see, it's not always easy, but it's pretty simple. In fact, simplicity is one of the keys. I live in Park City, Utah, where some of us take skiing pretty seriously. One morning some years back, a friend swung by my house to pick me up to go backcountry skiing. I ran into the garage to grab my skis. I stood there for a second looking at my 4 different pairs of skis, each designed for particular conditions. And suddenly, I was paralyzed. I just couldn't choose. My friend sat in the car honking the horn. "Let's go, Carl. Move it. The sun's coming up. The snow's getting soft." While I stared at those skis, it was ridiculous. I'd spent all that money and time and energy collecting these skis so I would be ready to deal with any situation. And now I just felt powerless. That day was a turning point for me. I got rid of 3 pairs of skis and kept my favorite pair. The ones that would let me do what I really care about doing, which is to move light and fast through the backcountry. The skis I kept aren't perfect in every condition. They're actually a pretty bad solution in heavy snow or in really steep terrain. So what? They're a decent compromise in most situations, and they work beautifully in the conditions I like best. Now I don't have to think about which skis to bring on a trip. I just grab the ones I have and go. I trust my experience and my instincts and my luck to make it through situations when my equipment isn't perfect. Lots of people think that to make good money decisions you need to have a plan for every situation. You need insurance for every possible setback, and investments for every market condition. All of your assumptions about the future need to be refined to perfection, so that you will never be surprised. You need to know and understand everything about the financial markets, and you need to budget your spending to the last dime. That kind of thinking is based on fear. We fear life's uncertainty, its ups and downs, and so we make plans that we hope will give us the power to control our future. If I do this, that will not happen. If I sell now, I will avoid the coming downturn. If I pick the right investments, I will be financially safe. If I worry enough, I will be ready when bad news comes. Trouble is, the real world is complicated. We don't know what's going to happen. That means that most of our plans are useless. When I had 4 pairs of skis, I was always choosing the wrong ones anyway. The point is, no plan will cover every situation, and that's okay. You don't have to choose the perfect investment or save exactly the right amount or predict your rate of return or spend hours watching television shows about the stock market or surfing the internet for stock picks. You don't need a plan for every contingency. So if planning isn't the solution to our money problems, what is? More simply, what can we do to get what we really want? We can stop chasing fantasies. We are not going to get what we want by beating the market or picking the perfect investment or designing the perfect bulletproof financial plan. In fact, when we try to do those things we get into big trouble. We can protect ourselves, to a point. Risk is what's left when you think you've thought of everything. Our assumptions about the future are almost always wrong. We can never think of everything, but we can take sensible steps to protect ourselves from life's inevitable surprises. We can embrace uncertainty. Change isn't always a problem. Many, perhaps most, of life's surprises are good news. If we aren't locked down into a rigid plan, we can recognize and seize opportunities when they come up. We can decide what we really want. When someone asks you what you really want out of life, you're probably not going to say you want an investment that delivers good returns. Like the rest of us, you want to be happy and fulfilled. Your financial decisions should align with what you know about yourself and the world. The more you know about yourself, the more successful your investments will be. That is, the more they will align with your true goals as a human being. Deciding what you really want takes an awful lot of work, which is one reason why most of us don't do it. But once you know what you really want, you will know what to do, how much insurance to buy, where to invest your money, whether to quit your job and start a new venture. We can make decisions that make sense. We can't control the markets or the economy, but our behavior is up to us. It's true that the outcomes of our decisions may vary. In fact, you can make a good decision and have a bad outcome. But sensible, reality-based choices are our best shot at reaching our goals. We can trust our luck. Most financial planners don't like to talk about luck. The idea that some things just happen by chance can be a scary one. But I think it's really cool that we don't control our destinies. We can stay open and respond creatively, and sometimes the things that happen to us are much better than anything we could plan ourselves. My wife and I met at a ski shop when we were college students. We married in 1995, when I was still an undeclared major at the University of Utah and digging ditches for a landscaping company. Corey decided that digging ditches wasn't a long-term career path for me. and we found a want ad for what we thought was a job that had something to do with security. Being a security guard, working with alarm systems, keeping things safe. It turned out the job was in the securities industry, with a mutual fund company. The interviewers narrowed the pool of applicants down to 2 of us. The other guy and I sat next to each other in a waiting room while they decided whom to hire. The door opened. A young woman informed us that they'd picked the other guy. He looked at me and said, "I don't want it. You can have it." So I got the job. I've spent the past 15 years giving people financial advice. Every great thing that has happened has been at least partly a matter of luck. Even the setbacks have taught me important lessons, including some that I've tried to pass along in this book. One of those lessons is that you aren't in charge of everything. Do what you can, and then relax. We can trust ourselves. Of course, luck is only part of it. One day my supervisor at that same mutual fund company informed me that my shift had changed, and I'd have to work on Sunday. I had other commitments on Sunday, and I told her so. She told me to choose, so I quit. That led to my next job, which led to my next, which led to my business, which eventually led to a regular blog for the New York Times and this book and all kinds of great stuff. I stood by what really mattered to me. I wanted Sundays off. And I lost my job. What a disaster, right? And so far, at least, that decision and that disaster have made all the difference. I don't believe that there is a secret to getting rich. But in the end, financial decisions aren't about getting rich. They're about getting what you want, getting happy. And if there is a secret to getting happy, it's this: be true to yourself. Maybe you've heard that one before, but I'll bet you haven't read it in a book about money. Chapter 1. We don't beat the market beats us. Companies like Morningstar and Dalbar have done a bunch of studies that try to quantify the impact of investor behavior on real-life returns. The studies typically compare investors' actual returns in stock funds to the average returns of the funds themselves. Just to be clear, they're trying to compare the returns investors get to the returns investments get. Is there really a difference? Oh, you bet there is. Typically, the studies find that the returns investors have earned over time are much lower than the returns of the average investment. What that means is that we're leaving money on the table. Take mutual funds. All we had to do was simply put our money in an average stock mutual fund and let it sit there. But most investors didn't do that. Instead, they moved their money in and out of stock funds. Their timing was miserable, and it cost them dearly. I coined the term behavior gap to label the gap between investor returns and investment returns, and I started drawing the sketch you see here on every whiteboard I could find. Since then, I've used the behavior gap to describe all kinds of situations where our behavior leads us to subpar results. And I've drawn many sketches to help my clients and readers understand what's really driving their actions. But this sketch is the original. It's clear that buying even an average mutual fund and holding on to it for a long time has been a pretty decent strategy. But real people don't invest that way. We trade. We watch CNBC and listen to Jim Cramer yell. We buy what's up and sell what's down. In other words, we do exactly what we all know we shouldn't do. I know it's time to be cautious when I get lots of emails from readers of my New York Times blog urging me to add stocks to my holdings. Likewise, I know it's probably a good time to be hopeful about the market's prospects when certain friends and colleagues are anxious to sell stocks. What's incredible is that they know it, too. We laugh about it together. They know their impulses to buy and sell are dangerous. They rely on me to help them keep those impulses under control. Back in the spring of 2009, my clients were very worried indeed. 3 of them came in together to see me one day. Like most of us, they were scared to death. The market had plunged, and they'd sustained significant losses. The conversation quickly turned to how scary the stock market was. Them: "Hey, Carl, we think it's time to sell." Me: "Are you suggesting that we sell something simply because it's down 30%? Them: "Well, are we just going to keep sitting here while this thing goes down?" Me: "The damage has been done, guys. You may feel like selling, but does it make any sense to sell now?" Them: "It's scary." Me: "It's okay to be scared, but it's a bad idea to act on your fear." Them: "But this is just too painful. If things continue at this rate, we'll have no money by the end of the year." Me: "Actually, stocks were a lot riskier when they were more expensive. But back then, you were happy to hold them. Why sell now?" Them: "So what do we do instead?" My answer to that one was pretty simple. I told them we should do absolutely nothing. Instead, we'd wait for things to calm down a bit, and then review their plans to make sure they still made sense. Fast forward a couple of years. The same 3 guys came to see me again. Stocks had rebounded sharply, and we had a very different conversation. Them: "Should we move more of our cash into stocks?" Me: "Why?" Them: "Because the market's done so well lately." Me: "You mean you want to buy more stocks because stocks are more expensive?" Them: "Well, they might keep going up." Me: "We have no idea what the market will do in the future. Why don't we stick with our plan?" I have these conversations all the time. In early 2011, with gold up 80% over 2+ years, everyone wanted to know if they should be buying it. For a while it was the most common question I got. I answered that gold was now riskier than it had been in a very long time. If it wasn't already part of their plan, why add it now? My friends and clients aren't the only investors tempted to do the wrong thing. In 2008, 2009, and most of 2010, mutual fund investors consistently took more money out of stock mutual funds than they added. In December 2010 alone, we pulled $10.6 billion out of equity mutual funds. Then, in January 2011, someone hit a switch. That month, we poured an estimated $30 billion into the market. Investors had decided that it was time to get back into stocks. This decision came after an almost 100% gain from the market bottom in 2008. Is it rational to pour money into an asset that has doubled in value in less than 2 years? Would you buy a house that had climbed in value from $300,000 to $600,000 in 2 years? What's that? You did. How'd that work out? Let's go back to early 2000. The dot-com market is booming. The Nasdaq has gained better than 80% during the past year. People are borrowing against their home equity and using the cash to buy stocks, especially technology stocks. Investors put close to $44 billion into stock mutual funds in January 2000, according to the investment company Institute, shattering the previous one-month record of $28.5 billion. We all know the story from there. Money continued to pour into stock funds, breaking records for February and March. The Nasdaq climbed to 5,000, only to plummet, losing something like half its value by the end of the year. But if you think we get irrational at market tops, wait until you see how we behave at market bottoms. October 2002 was the 5th month in a row that investors pulled more money out of stock mutual funds than they put into them. The first time ever such a streak had occurred. Just take a wild guess at when the market hit bottom. October. Stop and think about this for a second. At the market peak, we were borrowing against our homes to buy overpriced technology stocks. At the bottom, we couldn't sell stocks fast enough. And where was all the money going? Investors were using it to buy bond funds, which recorded record cash inflows during the period, even though bond prices were by some measures higher than they'd been in more than 40 years. This is nothing new. We do it all the time. We did it with emerging markets in 2004, with real estate in 2006 and 2007. Repeat until broke. No wonder most people are unsatisfied with their investing experience. The more expensive stocks are, the more risky they are. Yet that's when we tend to find them most attractive. In short, investors as a group tend to be horrendously bad at timing the market. It makes far more sense to ignore what the crowd is doing and base your investment decisions on what you need to do to reach your goals. But man, is that hard to do. It's not that we're dumb. We're wired to avoid pain and pursue pleasure and security. It feels right to sell when everyone around us is scared and buy when everyone feels great. It may feel right, but it's not rational.